Okay, take two. So, what we're going to do is we're going to move our Steam directory to an external drive or secondary drive or whatever you prefer to do. This will work for whatever. If you want to put on a USB flash drive, you can even do that. Um, and real quick, I'm going to go over the reason why you'd want to do that. So, like, say you got multiple computers and you want to, like, you know, take your portable drive and put it on a different computer to run your games, you can do that. Um, and they'll work just fine. You won't have to reinstall your games and all that crap. And then say you have problems with Windows and you got to reinstall Windows on your computer or whatever, well, you could do that and it doesn't affect your games. The end, I'll show you about saves because those are in a different location. If you're going to use a different machine or a new installed Windows, you're going to need to take your save files and back them up somewhere too. So, yeah. Well, if the game's not a cloud save kind of system, but a lot of the older games and the stuff I play isn't. So, I'll show you where you'd find that stuff. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. I didn't set anything up, so um, we're going to go ahead and to pull up this drive. So that's the, USB drive that I'm using. It's a USB hard drive. Um, Not that that matters, because like I said, you can use this with a flash drive, thumbstick, whatever, it all works. Okay, so one important thing you're going to want to do beforehand is first off, make sure that Steam isn't set to launch on startup. You don't necessarily have to do that step. I like to do it though, because I don't like stuff opening without me telling it to open, so that's why I do it. But you can live your life however you want. That's fine. But definitely make sure you go into Task Manager, Control Alt Delete, pull that up, and check your processes and make sure nothing Steam related is running. So if you see any Steam icons in here anywhere, you just go ahead and right click them or click on them and end task. But as you can see, we don't got none of that here. So, because I just made sure of that a second ago. Um, because it'll tell you you can't copy the files otherwise. So I already added the attributes, but what you want to do next is make sure that you click on this folder and you have this highlighted, and then go down to properties. And as you can see here, it's doing this stupid crap, which it shouldn't be. It should not be read. It should not be read only. I applied the attributes for read write. So, you're going to want to change that. You want them to be a read write. That way you can make modifications to the files if you so choose for mods or whatever you may do with your Steam that requires changes to be made to stuff in the folder. Um, this is probably the easiest part. I'd make sure I do this just because, like, there are times it'll tell you, oh, you can't move this here, you can't do that. No, Steam, go fuck yourself. We're going to move whatever we want whenever we want. So make sure you add those attributes so you can do that. Um, and then the computer can't tell you how to live your life. So we got a boring couple minutes of it doing all this crap, which really doesn't matter too much. Once this is done, make sure it fully closes. That's going to be important because you don't want it to tell you that, oh, something else is using this, Steam, so you can't move it. No, buddy, nothing else is using it, so just copy my files, bud. And we're loading and loading and loading and loading, and it's taking forever. Um, this isn't a crappy laptop either. It's just, yeah, Steam has a lot of files and subfolders and crap. So you want it's going to take a little bit of time to add the attributes to all those folders, files, and subfolders and all that stuff um, to the subspace. So any day now. Any day. And goody, 45 seconds. Okay. Right now, I was just dealing with the Steam app, so that's where your game files are actually located. Okay, so we should be good here. Make sure, okay, yeah, I just want to make sure that everything was checking out. I didn't check that first, I should have. Okay, so there we go. We've got everything here changed over to where that's no longer a read-only situation. So now we're done. That we should be fine. I'll just get a check Task Manager just one more time to make sure that there is no open Steam instances of any kind, because it will give you hassle if there's anything open. Um, so now we can, what I'm going to do this time around is just copy and paste, and I'll come back and delete this directory later. Um, so we could just go in here, copy and paste, and here we go. This will take a while depending on how many games you got, especially the more games you got, more files you got in your Steam directory, the longer it'll take. But if you get say you get a big enough drive, or you get a drive that's adequate that you're not going to have to move this stuff around for a long period of time, I recommend sticking with something like at least 2 TB or above. But if you shove your Steam folder on one of those hard drives that are 2 TB or above, you shouldn't have to move the folder again for a long time unless you end up having to upgrade to like a 4 TB or higher or whatever. So, but the size of your Steam folder and how many games and all that stuff's installed to it will determine how long this is going to take. It will take a little bit. Um, so just beware of that. It will take a while. And then once it's done, we're going to have to do a little bit of extra crap here. But while it's doing that, we'll go over save data real quick. So while this is doing that, we'll go in the documents. Now, I don't have anything in here because my PC, I haven't really ran any games or anything on here yet. So I don't really have any of that stuff on here. But typically you would go into like users, your username there. It would be in like, yeah, usually it's in documents, but there's also, you see like CD Projekt Red, it's in game saves or saved games. So sometimes you'll come across something like that, and then you would just take um, the files out of there like this and copy or paste them somewhere else, like where you want to store your backup saves for your games. And then say you got a computer that you never played this game on, but you want to use your save file. Well, you just go back to that directory where you drug these out of and copied them to your flash drive or whatever, and then you would drag them into the folder on the new computer, in this case called Save Games, CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk 2077, and then you just paste them in there. And then when you go open the game, all your save files will just show up. You won't have to do anything else. But most games that aren't cloud-based save in the documents, and it'll be like in documents, it'll be like, whatever the game publisher is. So like Rockstar Games, for instance, GTA 4, and then there'll be like a folder in there that says game saves or something, or saves. And then you could just copy the whole folder and just replace the whole folder in the new destination where you plan to have your game saves on whatever new computer you plan on using. If there isn't a directory for that, then when you run the game, it'll create that directory, and you can just copy your save files into that directory, and then you can load them that way too. Um, you will have to make note though of some games, like if you're playing on an older version of a game, uh, the save may be incompatible on a newer version. Usually it doesn't work that way, but say you played on a newer version though, and you have an older version of the game that you're playing on now, your save may be incompatible, so it might not show up, but it'll still be there. So, yeah, just little things to keep in mind. Like for instance, GTA 4, if you had a newer version of the game and you saved your game and you downgraded the game to like 1.0.4.0, like I did to mine, the game saves from before you downgraded will no longer work. So it'll show them up in the list, and you could click on them and try and load them, but what'll basically happen is they'll just put you in a new game because the save file is incompatible. So um, this is getting pretty close to done there. Um, so yeah, I'll be back when it's done. Okay, so our transfer is completed. So now we can move on to the next step. Um, in here, we can just go ahead and delete that because we no longer need it. So we'll go ahead and do that. And this will take a little bit too, but we don't got to worry about that. That could go in the background and do its thing. So while that's doing that, we can now showcase this working. So what we'll do is, yes, just delete it. So go into that Steam folder that we just copied over, and all your Steam stuff will be here. And then scroll down, and you'll see there's a bunch of these little things with these icons. You only really care about the one that says Steam right here. The one that just says Steam and nothing else. Not Steam Error Report, not Steam Error Report 64, none of that, just this one. And then you could go down here and click on Send To, and then Send To Desktop Create Shortcut. And then what I like to do is just remove this part where it says Shortcut. And there we go. And then I'm gonna wait for this to delete since this is only gonna take another minute or so, just so you can see for sure that it is loading off of that hard drive. Um, but we'll load it up, and then you'll see that it works fine. And then from there on out, you won't have to ever mess with uh, your Steam stuff again. So now we've got that moved over, and there's no more folder in the C drive. So, no more Steam in there. And we'll go ahead and launch this. And now it's going to be launching from this directory. So it's going to do its thing like it normally does, verifying, blah, 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 verifying update installation and all that crap. And this may take a minute. It's Steam for you, it usually does. And there is a chance that the first time you log in from moving this folder into your, USB flash drive or whatever you loaded onto, or secondary drive or external drive, there is a chance they'll make you input your password again, but as you can see, everything pops back up and all the games that are installed in there are still showing up. Now it's showing up that I got a lot of games installed that I actually don't have installed, like this here, I could, it's giving me the option to stream, but I don't want to do that. I'm gonna want to install it. See, so, so a lot of these games I don't have, but for instance, like I do have Black Ops 2 on here. Um, and we can load that up, and you'll see that that'll work fine. It's got to do its Visual C install crap because I haven't ran this game on here yet. But uh, if you are running this on a computer separate from the computer you originally ran your games on, or a separate Windows install, or you reinstall Windows, you'll have to go through this every time you launch a game that you haven't played on it yet. But it doesn't take too long, and after it does that, it's fine. Usually you don't have to even mess with changing like your settings back for like your resolution and all that. But at worst, you will have to change your resolution back to whatever you had it set to, whatever you want it set to. But yeah, it's being a little slow, but you'll see here in a second though that it'll load up just fine and everything will work. It's probably taking a minute too because it's loading from that drive, but Visual C takes a minute anyway. And there we go, synchronized Steam Cloud. It's doing its thing, and now it's going to launch the game. Any day now. Oh, okay, well maybe it's not going to launch the game. Maybe it's making a liar out of me. There we go. Now it should launch. Okay, never mind. Black Ops 2 is going to be stupid and crash, so we'll just use another game. Black Ops 2 is kind of weird. I've had issues with this game before, but that's not a big deal. We could just launch something like Killing Floor. It'll have to do the same little thing probably, but you can see we're loading up just fine off that hard drive. It's going to be a little bit slower because mine's a USB external hard drive, and it is a hard drive, not a solid state. So it's going to be a little bit slow, but yeah, as you can see, all working fine. Probably taking so long because I'm recording in the background. But yeah, there we go. We got the game loading up. Accept, and there we go. So my game is loaded up now, and it's all good to go. It's all gravy, baby. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, that's how you do it, and you can do this with Battle.net too if you have Battle.net for like Blizzard games and Origin for like EA games and all that. You can do the same thing with those too. It'll all work the same way. Same steps you did to do this with Steam, you would do with like Origin and Battle.net and all that, and it would be just fine. So yeah, that's pretty much it.